Thank you.
Hello.
I'm Julie. So what I wanted to ask about, you've spoken to a lot today and yesterday, but I wanted to get some clarification for you from myself. And that is, the other day I was walking and I was listening to the podcast with you and Bernardo from the other day, and it was magnificent. And it really struck me so much of what you both had to say. It was so clear and concise and brilliant. And there was one point, sort of near the beginning, I'd say maybe a quarter of the way through, where you were both talking about exactly what you were just talking about, the senses, and how things are, reality is not necessarily how we're seeing it, but how we're experiencing it, but we're experiencing it in the way that that we are because of our sensory perception.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, when I was listening to this, I got this horror that, oh my God, what can I count on? And that I can't trust in anything, anything outside. And it was like a profound existential horror. And it lasted all of 2 seconds.
Yes.
But it was definitely
it's
there.
Enough.
Yeah. It was enough. And it was reminiscent of when I had done my first ayahuasca journey. And they gave me 4 doses of ayahuasca. And I was committed to not having that experience. Even though I went and I did everything, there was just like this horror that if I just relaxed into it, that things wouldn't be as they are, right? Like that I would see things very differently. I wasn't ready for it at the time. And then the other horror that I had, that I think the two are very connected, was that I didn't want to leave everybody. I wanted to, it seemed like if I were around people, that I was safe. And both of these experiences, the one from the other day and the one from ayahuasca, they seemed very connected to, obviously, objects, right? And they also seemed very much of my childhood. Like there was some sort of energy that seemed reminiscent of childhood. And I've noticed that in my life, and I live alone, and I love living alone, and yet there's this concept of aloneness that scares the shit out of me. Even though I live alone and I love my alone life. And when I meditate and I'm in that place of just pure being, it's beautiful. And there's this underlying knowing of that, and yet there's this horror that comes up from time to time. So I was hoping that you would speak about that. And the other thing that I think is connected that I'm dealing with right now is that I've always also believed what a person said was what they meant and was the truth. And there was this sort of need for people to be honest and upfront, and for me to believe that. And it's created some problems in my life, which you would imagine. And I think that that's connected into this too. So.
Yes, the conversation that Bernardo and I had was a truly beautiful conversation. As you know, I have enormous respect for him, not just the intelligence and the beauty of his mind, but for his humanity and his humility. So, yes, it was a beautiful, profound conversation in which we were discussing our two very similar, in fact. I had thought there was one little area I had thought where we disagreed. And I've noticed on various YouTube platforms, everyone's always longing to find out if there's a little area where Rupert and Bernardo disagree. And it came up in it because our two models are so similar, although we've both come at them through from completely different perspectives. Our models are remarkably similar, although we both express them in very different ways. But there was one, this is just an aside really, there's one area which actually I thought was a difference between us, that I suggested that reality, infinite consciousness, is aware of itself. And I had misunderstood something Bernardo said. And I thought that Bernardo thought that it wasn't self-aware. Anyway, we cleared that up. He does think it's aware of himself. So that was nice. We couldn't find anything that we disagreed on at all, which was beautiful because he's come from the scientific point of view, as you know, and I've come through introspection and the non-dual philosophy. So yes, we were both discussing our two models of reality, and we were going quite deeply into it. So I can well imagine that if you really listened and not just listened, but kind of took the journey with us, that if you participated with us from both these angles, one hyper-rational, the other very experiential, that at some stage, at a visceral level, you would have felt that your model of reality was being dismantled, and that it would crack. That was the 2-second moment of horror that you felt, that this rock-solid model of reality, that in spite of all our non-dual exploration and reading, we still retain at a deep level. It takes a while for that model to really begin to disintegrate. And for you, I suspect it cracked during that conversation. And as a result, you felt this raw fear, like the one reality that you had invested not just your identity, but your security in, suddenly seemed to be considerably less substantial than you had previously considered it. And that produces this terror in you. But it's beautiful that you felt that, and that this one question arose out of that. What can I be certain of? What can I trust? What can I be sure of? And that's a beautiful question. That single question would be enough. It's the equivalent of the am I aware question, or who am I? That question alone, or how do I know that I exist? That question alone would be enough if you followed it all the way. What can I be certain of? That would be the only question you needed if you followed it all the way. So, and then you referred to, although you like living alone, you referred to the experience of being without people, the fear of that again, the people, friendship. That's another way in which our investment in reality as it appears to us is consolidated through people, surrounding ourselves with people, objects, familiar things, memories. All of these things shore up our conviction in reality as it appears, and then you have an experience like this, and it cracks. Once it's cracked, it can never be put back together again. You know, if you crack a ceramic bowl, you send it off to a mender. They mend it, but if you look carefully, it's never the same. And then the Japanese, they put gold in the crack, which is a beautiful symbol, because it highlights this crack in reality. That they say, no, don't avoid the crack, go there. That's the most beautiful part of the bowl. The part of the bowl that, apart from that, it's just an old grey rice bowl. But then there's this beautiful gold crack. That's the place to go. So that although the crack is terrifying, it's the place to go.
Thank you. Reminds me of that Rumi poem, The Craftsman.
Yes.
Thank you.